Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. She tells him she's in church, but she doesn't go. Still she's on her knees, and Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty. Fiona says she's out shopping, but she's under me and I'm not stopping. Cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty, Scotty doesn't know. I can't believe he's so trusting, while I'm right behind you thrusting. Fiona's got him on the phone, yeah, she's trying not to moan. It's a three-way call and he knows nothing, nothing. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty, cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty, we'll put on a show, everyone will go. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. The parking lot, why not? It's so cool when you're on top. His front lawn, in the snow, laughing so hard, cause Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. I did it on his birthday. Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know, Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty, Scotty doesn't know. Scotty will know, Scotty has to know, Scotty's gonna know. I'm gonna tell Scotty, gonna tell myself. Scotty has to know, Scotty has to know, Scotty has to, Scotty has to, Scotty has to go. Scotty doesn't know, 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 Scotty doesn't, Scotty doesn't, Scotty doesn't know.
Well, hello, fellas. This is a, hey, come on now. Oh, Stacy's mom about to start up. This is a mini version of the Gabbin' and the Games. I was going to do, hello, everybody. I was going to do two shows, two videos. I'm trying to bring up the red phone, 1 second. And one of them was going to be about the PlayStation trials that are, that they just announced, PS Plus trials. And the other was going to be about, I wasn't even going to do a video about this. I just saw the brouhaha about Colin Moriarty, my buddy, and Gene Park. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And somebody asked me, it's like, what do you think about the brouhaha? And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so apparently I started to get a little bit of information. I says, all right, let me just go live. Let's talk to some people. Let's turn on the phone. We got the Discord on. We got the red phone on. We got the chats. We got the super chat. So you guys, let's shoot the shit a little bit. Let's shoot the shit a little bit. Well, thank you, Banana Ham Cake. Says, Jaffe, you're looking very handsome today. I appreciate that. I appreciate that down in the nether regions. Washington Post Gaming is the American Stevior. I don't even know what that means. Brawmaster says, hey, Jaffe, I was wondering when the Twisted Metal 2 ending watch long was going to be. Dude, I don't know. I got to get it going, but I got to first tell Marco Aquino thank you for the super chat, buddy. I really, really do appreciate that. So why don't we first start talking about the PlayStation trials, and then we will jump to the Gene Park, Colin Moriarty thing. Because I'm curious about it, and I've already got some people in Twitter saying stupid shit to me, and I'm just like, fuck off, man, fuck off. But we will get to that. And by the way, like I said, the Google Voice line is open. If you want to call in and share your thoughts, just a reminder that if I'm talking to somebody on the show already, I'm not going to be able to get to you, so, settle the fuck down. Stevivor is a controversial game reviewer, says the truth teller. Oh, okay. Hello, Rob the Mod. I hope you're feeling good, buddy. Okay. So let's talk about PlayStation Plus trials. They announced that today. And I want, if you don't know what it is, I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and then I want to talk about it. And I want to get your thoughts on it. So we knew this was coming, right? We knew that if you pay $18, you get per month, you get what is called PlayStation Plus. I think it's called Premium. I could be getting the vernacular wrong, but it's the highest tier. And in that, the special sauce for that is you're going to get PS1, 2, and 3 games back. It's like their version of backwards compatibility. Some of it is streaming. Some of it is downloadable, depending on what game it is you choose. And then the other big kind of sexy time part of it is that you are able to get what they were calling time trial demos. No one really knew exactly what that meant. It sounded pretty excited. It sounded pretty interesting. Well, today we get a little bit more information. Apparently what's been happening is Sony has been sending out emails and communicades to, I like when I say communicades because it makes it sound all like I'm grown up and stuff, or in a war. Probably it's more like you're in a war. Sending communicates to developers going, hey, here's what's going on, fellas. If your game is a wholesale game that costs $35 or more, and wholesale is the price that the GameStops and the retailers pay versus retail, which is what you pay, right? So a $34 wholesale game is around a $40 game. So if your game is $40 or more, you're in this plan unless it's special case. It's a requirement, okay? Here's what it is. Trial versions must be 2 hours long. Now, they don't define a trial version, but I'm assuming what it is kind of what they did with Cyberpunk when they dropped the new patch, which is you get 2 hours of gameplay. It's not a demo. It's literally just a timer. It's like, here's the game, whatever it is, play for 2 hours, and afterwards you probably get a call to action like, hey, do you want to buy it? All your stats will be saved. All your progress will be saved. That's usually what people mean, if not always, when they say a time trial version of a game. So for the sake of argument and for the sake of, or considering that we have no other definition, let's assume that's what it is. So Sony has said, look, if you're going to be in on this, you got to have 2 hours of a trial for your game, unless you're a special case, but that's case by case, and that's not most. So then they say, you can still do custom game demos instead of the time trial, but those are also going to be case by case. Okay. And that's kind of the high concept of it, right? Now, at first I was about to make a video kind of going, holy shit, Sony, I've talked about this in the past. There is a way to look at this and you can say Sony has found a way to beat Game Pass, right? Because at least for their AA and AAA players, which is their core base, I don't know about that, but a lot of their players aren't interested in playing up and down the budgetary spectrum. Okay, so they like their big games, blah, blah, blah. Especially somebody who's going to be paying $18 a month is probably already a hardcore PS fan that likes the nostalgia and likes the new big ticket items. Okay, fine. So it's like, well, that's better, for at least those gamers, of which there are many. It's like, oh shit, almost every game that comes out, certainly every big game that comes out, I'm going to be able to fuck around with it for a few hours and decide if I want it or not. And if I don't, great. If I'm curious, I'll go, it's in some ways it's better than Game Pass when you think about it, because you're getting access not just to the ones that Microsoft can negotiate, but you're getting access to everything that's a big ticket or a AA ticket item. But then you think about it a little bit and it kind of begins to fall apart. And the reason it falls apart, there's a couple of reasons this thing falls apart when you spend a little time thinking about it, right? So the first one is that the title doesn't have to have their demo or their time trial until 3 months after the game launches. So good luck getting anybody to put their time trial day and date. So it kind of chips away at the day and date victory that they were going to win, which means now if you put out and I'm assuming first party is beholden to this as well, but let's say you put out Gran Turismo 7, they may wait 3 months before they give you a time trial. Activision puts out Call of Duty, they may wait 3 months before you get a time trial, right? So, you know, it's really easy for this to stop feeling like, whoa, everybody's talking about Elden Ring. Fuck it, I'll try it. And it becomes more like, hey, free Elden Ring weekend. You know, it's nice, but it ain't what it was. But the bigger problem with it, actually, and I felt this in my gut and in my nether regions, but I had to do a little searching. My gut was telling me that the number of games these days that come out that are $40 and up are fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. And life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. Rob the mod, you old so-and-so. Goodness gracious, Rob has signed up for the Diet Soda Soldiers. He's our mod. He's been here longer than even I have. Thank you, buddy. You know I appreciate it. Have some pipe, baby. Have some pipe, you goddamn so-and-so. Thank you, Rob the mod, for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers. I recommend doing just what Rob just did. Now listen, thank you, Rob. Seriously, buddy. You know, I love you. I do love you, Rob. But I was gonna say, I appreciate that. But I only love you in the sex way. The emotional way, no. I save that for Bukkake. Listen, let's focus now. Let's not get off the tracks. But yeah, you start to go, well, how many of these games come out that would meet this requirement on a per month basis? And it's not like Game Pass where they'll give you everything day and date. And if they can get their shit together, they'll put out the big ticket items too. Let me show you what came out in April and is still to come in the couple days left of April, right? This doesn't clear the hurdle. This does not. This does not. This does not. Star Wars does. That's 1. The show does. That's 2. This does not. Chrono Cross, I think does. That's 3. Fine. Godfall. That's 4. Nope. I looked all these up. This one is right on the threshold. I'll give it to them. That's 4. That's 5. That's Sherlock Holmes. None of these. No. So we're at 5. That's an iPhone game, so no. Okay, that's 6. Mario Golf. No Regrets is like 40. Let's just give it to him. Let's say that's 7. And I think there might be one more. There's 7. None of these. Not even Dune. Zombie Army. Okay, we'll give them 8. And these are old too. 8. This is not. So there's like in Wii Sports, and that's all on. So there's like 9 games spread across every system that hits that threshold. On Sony, there's about 4 or 5. Okay, and so between the fact that these things are going to be coming out a couple of months after launch date for a lot of them, and between the fact that, and also taking into account the fact that most games that come out today, unless they're the big ticket items, are not going to have to adhere to this policy, it really throws into view kind of the shittiness of this. Like I said, at first I was like, this is pretty fucking cool. I like this. And there are still some things to like about it. I mean, whether you talk about Game Pass or whether you talk about trials here, or whether you talk about the Steam 2-hour discount, what's amazing is all of these companies are going to have to start shifting to say, we need to entertain the player in the first couple hours. No more of these days where it was like, oh yeah, 8 hours till it gets good. And a lot of people complain about that, but it's like, go look at the history of film. The reason movies are 2 hours long? Movies are 2 hours long for roughly 2 reasons. The first reason is that back in the day, of course, it wasn't digital. It wasn't pumped in over a satellite. It was film. And the amount of time and the amount of heft that these projectors could handle and the projectionists could handle, they could edit together about a 2 to 3 hour movie. And anything beyond that, they had to have an intermission so he could change the reels and all that shit. That cost money, right? The second thing is, before we had all these multiplexes everywhere, today kids don't even know, but back in the day, there weren't near as many screens, at least in the United States, which meant that screen real estate was at a premium, which meant that for movie theater exhibitors to make their money, They didn't want to have a 3 or 4 or 5 hour movie in there most times. They wanted to have it 90 minutes, 100 minutes to get people in and out so they could have more showings of the day because the cost of the ticket was the same. And so all these people that are like, oh, you're hurting the art, the business shouldn't, the business always dictates the creative. That's how it goes. And in this case, it's going to be better for the medium if these things do catch on and suddenly developers start to go, yeah, accessibility's big. We got to worry about that. And yeah, difficulty modes, when appropriate, we got to worry about that. Now here's something new you got to worry about. You got to worry about pacing your fucking game and making sure you catch your audience and engage your audience in the first 2 hours. So I love that about this. But when you look at the price of what Sony's charging, which is right now more than Game Pass Ultimate, obviously Game Pass is going to go up in price. But if you look at it right now, I cannot see a reason to subscribe to this thing. Maybe for a month if you're really nostalgic for these old games. I saw today that a bunch of PlayStation Now games have been pulled off and will be pulled off this month. I'm assuming it's to prep it for what the curated games are launching with in June when PS Plus 2.0 whatever goes live. But I mean, ultimately, after you get that out of your system, why are you giving them $18 a month? I don't understand. So my take on this is this started out as something I was pretty excited about, but the more you drill down and really think about it, at least from my current position, I kind of go, oh, this is absolutely not great and a little bit shitty. Let me read some of the chat, see what you guys have to say. Oh, by the way, let me say a couple of nice hellos and how do you do's to some long-term members. Thank you guys very much. We thanked Rob the Mod. Let's thank Family Guy Dog. He says, I've been a member for 2 months. He sure has. Thank you, buddy. I like the live shows more than the videos. Have a good show. Thank you, sir, for that, and thank you for your support. Lucas Stemberger has been a God of War member recently, and he's been a member in general for 8 goddamn months. He says it's actually cheaper than Game Pass at the yearly subscription. First off, thank you for the support, Luca. You know I appreciate that. Okay, so maybe if you buy it yearly, it's cheaper. But how much? Okay, whatever it is this worth it to you? Do you hear this and go, you know what? I understand the base because you're going to want to play online and get your free games and all that shit, or if that's still part of it. But beyond that, do you really want time trials the way these have been pitched to you? Do you really care about backwards compatible games after a month or two? Wouldn't you go, okay, I've gotten my fill? This is what I'm curious about. This feels absolutely uninteresting. Uwu says, no, Chrono Cross remake is $20. Okay, so we're down from 8 to 7. I thought it was 45, but whatever. Okay. So isn't it in the publisher's interest, says Willie Jackson, to do it day one to increase sales? You know, sure, there are cases where that could occur, but my guess would be that the majority of times it will hurt sales, right? Because if it's quote free, 2 hours, is a lot to get your fill, and a lot of people will go, okay, I'm done, I'm moving on. And if it's not a demo or not a time trial day one, I could see a lot of people, you're still like, oh, it's hyped, everybody's talking about it, I want it. But imagine if it's like Elden Ring and everyone's hyped and talking about it, and instead of having to buy it, you can play it for a few hours. A lot of people bought Elden Ring. It was too hard. It wasn't for them. I don't think, unless you have a game that you just really believe in, that you feel is going to just knock people's socks off in the first couple hours, and that's what they should do to begin with. Every game should aspire to that. Then I actually think it's probably safer to wait a month or two, or at least wait the first couple weeks, see how your sales do, and then decide if you need to pull this lever. That's what I would suggest. But yeah, my gut immediately came to this is not good for sales. You should hold this as long as you can. Sherlock, BB says, I'd love to try it. Is it a demo or free? Well, again, it is a game that would fall under Sony's new logic that says that would have to have a time trial of 2 hours. Let me see who's calling on the ringy ding. Oh shit, I hung up on him. I'm so sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Call right back, sir. I apologize. That was not intentional. That wasn't a bit. Brian E. says, Jaffe, is it possible that the 3-month time frame is only to account for the short notice period when developers didn't expect to need the time trial? Well, the other thing I didn't understand, Brian East, about the article, and this news was broken in Game Developer Magazine of all places, I guess because developers were like, hey, we're getting these emails from Sony. But I'm very surprised that game developer talks about the effort to create this, right? Like, I totally understand the effort to make a demo. Trust me, I've been there. It's a pain in the fucking ass, but it's worth it if you do it well. But a time trial is, I mean, I would be stunned if Sony just doesn't have some kind of meta that sits on top of the game and says, okay, you're in time trial mode, that and maybe what we need from the developer is a screen in your style that says you're in time trial mode. When you hit pause, put the clock up, and then have some kind of call to action at the end. But you're not actually going into the game and changing anything, right? So I don't know, I mean, maybe it's short notice for June, but I can't imagine that this is not a thing that, it's not like making a demo. Making a demo is harder unless we're not understanding what this is. So no, I would not agree with you that I think the 3-month thing is probably because publishers said, look, you got to give us a fucking break. You can't do it day one, Sony. I know you want to, but you can't do it day one. It's kind of like when the movie theaters and exhibitors were arguing, and movie theaters wanted to bring movies home almost immediately after theatrical, and they negotiated down to 45 days versus 2 weeks or something. My guess is that is a publisher request that was required to get all these guys on board. Now, I don't know that, but that's what I think. Bukaki Drive-By has been a member for 19 months. He's also the guy whose music, along with Alex Plox lately, has been opening the show. He says, would you have sex with Amber Heard next to a turd she laid in your bed? No, but I would have sex with 2 people in that trial. I would have sex with the doctor that took the stand today, Dr. Curvy, come on now. And I would also have sex with, there's a woman sitting next to Johnny Depp, right? So he's got like 5 lawyers, and they're all spread out behind him and to the left and right of him. But if you're looking at the TV screen, and let's say I'm Johnny Depp, well, how's that going to work? Off to the left is off to one side is no one. So she's sitting to his left, and she's this brunette. I would have sex with both of those if there was a turd in the bed, if that was the payment. Yeah, I would. Lord Garth says, he's been a member for 9 months. Thank you, buddy. He says, thanks for the work on the awesome new God of War banners. Oh, yeah, those aren't up right now because I'm changing them. But thank you. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much for being a member. And a God of War member at that, sir. Johnny of Rivia says, 19 months he's been a member. Thank you, sir. He says, removing the hold to loot button for 10 seconds will be a thing of the past until hour 3 of the game. I mean, I get it, and you're joking, but there is, I'm telling you guys, if all of these services catch on, or one of them catches on big, and then someone follows the leader, whatever, it will change game design. And this is one of the reasons I've been saying I love subscription services. I love things like this because it will force gamers to work harder to entertain you. And I know people always push back on me on that. I'm like, I'm on your side. I want better games. And you just want the status quo. It's weird. But anyway, I agree. I absolutely agree. It'll also probably kill a bunch of long, meandering opening cinematics unless they're just brilliant. Like in the last 18 months, the only cinematic that I thought had a right to be as long as it was the one in fucking the opening of Death Stranding. The Death Stranding thing with Bridges going into the cave and the invisible thing stalking him and the girl on the motorcycle, whatever, I forget the details now beyond those. That was genuinely a good, compelling story. But most of them, I think it'll motivate them to go, okay, we got to get on and off the stage real fast and get right, not to action, just something engaging. Just something engaging. That's all I'm saying, fellas. Andreas doesn't agree with me. He thinks he's smarter than the average Papa Jaffe. He says, Jaffe, I completely disagree. This is what completely changes the tide for me. I can try all the expensive games before I buy them. It's a freaking winner. Again, I would agree with you if it was PS2 era, and every week there was like 6 new games that you could get 12 hours of content for, quote, free, and some of those, and all of them are the big games. But when you look at, let's just take PlayStation. Let me give you that list again, but let's just, very briefly, let's just look at the PlayStation games for April, okay? And let's see what you're actually getting. If this, well, fuck it, let's go to June. This is launching, let's go to July, right? Because it launches fuck it, it launches the start of June, let's go to June. Let's see what you're actually going to get. Diablo Immortal is free. That's an indie game. Indie, that's $20. I know because it's on my wish list. Demon Slayer is not PlayStation, Switch. The Quarry, okay, that would probably be one. That's great. I'm very much looking forward to that. This is PC. It's $60, but it's PC. Capcom Fighting Collection is not going to be $60 or $40. Let's assume it is though. So that's two. You got The Quarry and Capcom. What else you got? Here's a PS4 title, but that's DLC, so that's not going to cost as much. It could still be just as good. Let's not get into it, fellas. Lego Brawls, I think, is fighting like a free-to-play fighter, but like a Brawlhalla. But fuck it, let's give you that one too. There's three. I may be missing a few, but if I am, let me know. But so far, we're up to three. So in your first month as a member at the premium, if the main reason you're signing up, you are going to be getting in June. So far we're at three. Come on now. Switch, PS4, and that's not even a big game or expensive game. I don't think Pocky Rocky is 40, but fuck it, I'll give you Pocky Rocky. It's not, but let's just say 4. River City Girls is not. I can't wait for this game, but it's not. That's 4 you got so far. I mean, Super Catboy, the demo was great, but that's not 40. That's like $20. I don't know about this one. Is this Star Trek? Is that a... Let's just say, fuck it, that's 5. Some of these I'm just given. I don't know if it's true, but let's say that's Star Trek's 5. That's a board game. Okay, then let's say you also get Uncharted League of Thieves collection. No, that's PC. It's already out on... Okay, so you're getting... I can guarantee you'd be getting 3 games in June that you could play for giving them $18, 2 hours of. You may be getting 5. Okay, so again, I would agree with you, but not under these conditions, man, unless I'm missing something. Miguel says it's useless. This is 2022. You have Corpo reviews, independent reviews, subreddits dedicated to any of those games, Let's Plays. Yeah, but if you're saying it's useless, like who wants a free trial? Almost everybody. Because no matter what a Let's Play shows you or a subreddit or whatever, you're going to, nothing beats hands-on. Would you buy a car? I know it's a different price point and a different product, but if you can test drive something, that only helps the consumer. So, let's see. Hang on, here we go. You're probably right, says Johnny, but I hope it doesn't bring the old trope of playing as the in-game build and the protagonist being stripped of everything after the tutorial. Again, I hope you're right, but I mean, if that's the solve, then there's shitty... unless the game relies on it to the story. But yeah, if you're basically saying, we're going to open with an amazing game and then after 2 hours it's going to be shit again, there's a bigger problem anyway. Brian King says, if developers are not rewarded for delivering the game and the quality of that game directly, it hurts gaming and games as an industry. Sure, absolutely, 100%, there's no doubt. Subscriptions don't have any incentive to launch games. It pays to delay games and string people month to month. No, it doesn't. That doesn't make any sense. It's just like anything else. Stranger Things right now is supposed to come out on Netflix in May, I think. If it doesn't come out and they begin to gain a reputation for, missing their dates, I'd unsubscribe. A lot of people would just go, oh, it's not out yet, I'll subscribe when it's out. I don't know if that's accurate. Jaffe, which games are free with subscription and which games are on trials? Well, okay, I understand what you're saying. Well, I mean, there are the PS Plus games that are free, and those have been announced, what they have so far, and I'm assuming every month there's more, or every 2 months. I don't know how they're doing that. But yes, that is different than these games. Uwu says 2 hours is just the bare minimum required by Sony. In reality, it will depend on the game. Horizon and GT7 will be 5 to 10 hour trials due to how big they are. Okay, I mean, sure, but that's Sony wanting you to subscribe to this service. Ubisoft doesn't give a fuck if you subscribe to this service. They care if you buy the game. In fact, they would prefer you subscribe to Ubisoft Plus. So while I agree there will be some games that play along the spectrum of time trial, I think most will get in and get out with as little damage as possible. If Sony is forcing devs to do demo, they're not. Demos are not time trials. Xbox should bring them to the platform and offer them for free. Easy layup. I mean, that's a good idea too if they can, but Xbox is not going to go out to I'm trying to think of a big game coming out that's not first party. They're not going to go out to 2K and get NBA 2K23 and pay them the insane amount of money they would need to get it for free on their box. Now, what they may do is they may go to them and say, okay, you know what, fuck it, we'll do that too. So we'll have day and date, and we'll have the big games that aren't day and date will still be 2 hours when they drop with Sony. Unless Sony makes them sign an exclusive, which I cannot imagine they would. But I don't know the deal, obviously. I'll say what I said earlier, says Brian. As a gamer, this saves me from a situation like Cyberpunk. Gives me time to wait until a developer cleans up the game. That's not only correct, but I will tell you the reason I think time trials are great is because Cyberpunk did that for me. Cyberpunk came out with a 5-hour time trial when they dropped the patch a few months ago. I had only played it for about an hour, and then I had heard so much shit on the internet that I'm like, fuck it, I'll play it later, right? And then I'm like, oh, it's a free five-hour thing. Let me see if it's gotten better. I loved it. I turned around and I bought it after 5 hours. So yeah, I'm absolutely true. Jaffe, what's the price point? $18. I thought tier 1 was 10. Tier 1 is, I don't know what tier 1 is, but it's less. I mean, I can look it up for you if you want to see real quick. But the final tier is $18. The tier that we're talking about that has this service. PS Plus tier. Hang on, let me just see. Okay, so here we go. These are the membership tiers. So basically, if you want to get PS Plus Essential, that's $10 a month, $60 a year. PS Plus Extra, which throws in some discounts, cloud storage, a downloadable catalog of nearly 400 PS4 and PS5 games. That's what you get with PS Extra. Premium, an extra will cost you $15 a month, which is currently what I pay for Game Pass Ultimate, and $100 a year. And then if you move on over to Premium, which you get added PS3 game streaming, PS1, 2, and PSP game catalog download and streaming, and these trials, that will kick you up to $18 a month or $120 per year. So they're asking a lot of money for this compared to the competition. I don't really think it's that, that great. Yuwu says, not to mention you're forgetting about the PS Now monthly releases. They just dropped Shadow Warrior 3 day and date 2 months ago. You may be right. I mean, I had hoped that would be the start of a day one dropping over on PS Now. However, they haven't been very clear on now that these things are moving. They're getting rid of PS Now, right? So if you don't subscribe nothing in this, if you look at this chart right here, nothing in the chart even mentions streaming until you get to the premium tier. So I even wonder if the PS Now stuff is just all going away and it's going to become these along with the I have no idea. Maybe they've said that, but I haven't seen it. Jeff, you're going to play Evil Dead the game. I played the demo and I liked it, but I didn't spend much time with it. So I'm going to wait a little bit and see how things go. Yu says, I just don't think it's going to be as bare and lukewarm as it looks on paper. Sure. I mean, I hope not, right? But all I'm doing is going off the information that they've offered up. That's all I got. Anything else is just sort of like, well, we'll wait and see. But this is all they're doing right now is and again, all of this, this isn't a PlayStation announcement. This is an announcement from developers that I guess reached out to Game Developer Magazine online, and they're saying, hey man, here's what's going on. All right, so there you go. I mean, I'm still going to subscribe, but I definitely will keep my PS Plus. I'll take a look at what the 400 games are for free that come with the second tier, and I'll think about it. But right now, nothing these guys have said would motivate me to give them $18 a month for what they are offering. Nubulac says, I think the max is 120 a year. That's a good deal broken down month by month. Sure, if what you're interested in is streaming PS3 games, I'm really not. Playing old PS1, 2, and PSP games, I mean, unless they just figured out something to make that super sexy, I'm really not. And if I'm going to drop $18 just to get 2 hours of a game that I want a time trial, I'll just fucking buy the game. So for me, this is not compelling, but but you're right. We have to kind of wait and see what what games slot into there. Brian E says, I hope the rumors of PlayStation releasing their own PS3 emulator is true. Yeah, that would be great, but it sure doesn't seem like that's a priority for them. Which I don't think it should be either. Turbo, think of a super chat. He says, let's make a baby. Let's do it. Let's do it. But you got to carry it. You got to feed it. You got to raise it. And I ain't fucking you. But other than that, I'll make a baby with you. I don't know when that leaves, but fuck it. Okay. Do you think Sony should do a couple of day one first party games? I think they should do a lot of first party day one games, not their big ones. I think they should start putting into production some smaller games that are about 20 million, with that being the intention to do day one. Yes, but no, I think at the moment they're okay because Microsoft can't get their shit together. If Microsoft ever gets their shit together and every month there's Starfield, and after that there is the new Doom, and after that there's the Indiana Jones game, and after that there's the new open world first person shooter RPG from an Exile, and that's month and month and month and month. Yeah, then they're gonna have to rethink it, I think. Brian E says, Jaffe, one of the games that leaked recently was Siphon Filter series is on the list of retros. Right, because they re-rated those or something. But do you really want to fucking go back and play Siphon Filter for more than 20 minutes? Do you really want to fucking... I mean, again, I like Siphon Filter. My favorite was Dark Mirror. I've never finished a Siphon Filter game except Dark Mirror. Loved it. But how many games are there to play? You really want to go back and play Siphon Filter for more than 20 minutes? I don't know why. But that's okay. Sean Augie says Siphon Filter's badass. It is badass. I'm not taking the piss on Siphon Filter. But it doesn't age that well. It hasn't aged that well. Chris says, we're really pondering the extra $20 a year. I'm not sure I follow you, sir. If you're talking about it's $60 to get PS Essential, it's $40 more for extra, and then it is what is that at? That's $100. Okay, so it's $20 more for PS Plus Premium Explain. Right. I understand. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You're basically saying if you're going to go ahead and get the lowest tier and pay per year, why $20 is not going to kill you? Just get everything. You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong about that. But I think the bigger question is it compelling enough to merit anybody giving a shit? I guess. You may do it, and every now and then there's a trial you want to play. Sure, I agree with that. But I don't think it certainly doesn't move people away from Game Pass, and people can say it's not supposed to be a Game Pass competitor, and I get that, but come on. Just like Game Pass is not free, people think it's free. Just like this is not a Game Pass competitor, kinda, people are going to think that. They're going to compare it. That's all I'm saying. Because here's the conversation. Hello. That's the mother. Hello. She's from the UK, and she has 2 daughters, and she's thinking of leaving her husband. Hello. And then the GameStop employee is like, hey, I'd like to buy a system for my little boy, Bartholomew. You named your kid Bartholomew? Yes, he's British. Sorry to hear that. No problem. So listen, which do I get, this one or that one? And then he's going to go in and explain to the lady from the UK, hey, well, you get all these games for free if you have Game Pass. But, on PlayStation, you can also pay roughly the same amount. Ooh, what do I get? Well, there'll be some demos every month that he can play for a few hours, and then they go away unless he buys them full price. Ew. Brexit. And then she leaves. I don't know why I think she says Brexit every time she leaves anywhere. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so Protopass says, I'll pay $200 a year for some PSP games on PS5. Jesus go with you, sir. Jesus and the God and the Holy Spirit and all those cavalcade of characters that they've put together in that religion. I don't know anything about religion, but the point is, that's great. And maybe Sony thinks that there's going to be a lot of people like you. I would not. Are you out of your mind? I'm going to pay all that money to play Arctic Thunder for 10 minutes and go, yeah, okay, it's cool. Let me go back to playing the latest and greatest. Would you have accepted to be Amber's lawyer after reading her case file? Says, I'm not really following that case that much, man. I don't really care. I mean, you know, it's kind of cool that Johnny Depp's on the stand, but I don't know anything about it. Plus, the bigger point is I'm not a lawyer. The Larry says, is it true that demos for games reduce sales versus having no demo at all? I don't know. I haven't seen. I've heard that stat. I haven't actually seen that stat, but it would not surprise me at all. Okay. Let us move on. I want to talk about Gene Park and Colin Moriarty, not because it's on my mind in the sense of like, this is something we got to really talk about. But because it's been placed in my mind. People have been tweeting me and saying, what's up with the Gene Park hate that he's getting? Now, if you don't know Gene Park is a very good old school, not that he's an old guy, he's younger than me, but guy went to journalism school. He writes for the Washington Post. He's a real fucking reporter. He's not one of these yahoos that's like, I like video games, and my mom says maybe you could write about. I mean, it's not that. He's a fucking reporter. He's a fucking reporter. The guy didn't even always report games. I want to say he reported on crime and shit at one point. He's a real fucking reporter. And some of these fucking yahoos are giving him shit because he went on a Sacred Symbols Plus, which I was on a couple of weeks ago, with Colin. And Colin wanted to talk about, I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but Colin wanted to talk about how a more traditional media covers the industry versus more hyper-focused gamer game journalists, right? And it's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so let me get this super chat first, and I'll dive into what's going on. Master Millions, thank you, pal. He says, are you worried about the development on Fable with Playground? Well, not worried. I don't really care. I'll play it if it comes out, if it gets good reviews. But what I'll tell you is, hang on.
Call from.
All right, on the phone. Hang on a second on the phone. So I'm not worried about it, but, I have heard that they're having some challenges only because they've never made this kind of game before. So I'm more, once again, worried about management at Microsoft. I mean, these guys are an amazing developer, and I'm not saying don't let them stretch. They might be like, dude, we're so fucking tired of car games. I get it. I get being tired of car games, but you're going to put them on one of your flagship titles in a genre they've never touched. Why don't you give them a little bit of growing room, give them a little bit of rope, and then, let's go. I'm sure they did a demo and all that, but clearly now, so I'm not worried about it. I'm worried, not even worried, but I'm more annoyed by, here we go again, Microsoft. Could you please fucking get somebody to manage your goddamn cockadoodie shit? Okay. So anyway, so Gene goes on this show and with Colin. Now, Colin fascinates me in the sense that a lot of people don't like Colin, which I don't understand, okay? I consider Colin a friend of mine. When you get past the age of 30, it's hard to make friends. I don't hang out with Colin because he lives on the East Coast. And even if he lived next door, I don't like to leave. I don't like to go outside more. I'm not agoraphobic. I just don't like it. I get everything I need pumped in here. But I genuinely consider this guy a friend. He's a good guy. I do not agree with Colin. The guy on the phone hung up. I don't know. I do not agree with Colin on everything. He does not agree with me on everything. And, I'm just kind of like, I guess that's become something that has to happen. So Gene, I know he's Asian. I don't know from where he hails, but he's an Asian fella. And he goes on Sacred Symbols and he starts getting shit. And I was like, can somebody explain to me, what exactly is the problem with Colin Moriarty? I don't understand it, right? And so people start sending back this tweet he made, and I retweeted it. I was like, can somebody explain this to me? Let me read you this tweet that I'm confused by, that people are like, see, this shows you that Colin is a bad guy. And they sent this to Gene like, I can't believe you would go on Gene's show or Colin's show after he said this. Here's what Colin said in 2017. He says, Asian Americans blow the entire white supremacy racism bit to smithereens. Expect the fringe left to chase him hard over the next few years. I don't really know what that means. It's in response to a tweet that has since been deleted that he was responding to. His follow-up tweet says something about... I don't fucking know. The gist is I didn't understand it, and then somebody said, oh, it's this model minority thing that he's bringing up. And I think what he's bringing up or talking about is this idea that, I'll read you the wiki link, because I'd never, or the definition, I'd never even heard this term. But the definition of model minority, let me show it to you. A model minority is a minority demographic. Ethnicity, race, religion, doesn't matter what causes them to be a minority demographic, whose members are perceived as achieving a higher degree of socioeconomic success than the population average, thus serving as a reference group to outside groups, meaning like you can say, oh, well, Jews are really good with money and Asians are really good with math and black people are really excel in sports and entertainment or whatever. And so, you know, my understanding is to subscribe to this view is harmful, is hurtful. You know, that's kind of what some people think. Now, even let's go to the top of the mountain first and work our way down. Even if that is an offensive thing to say, or even if Colin is like, let's say, and I don't know this, Colin's never said this to me, but let's just say Colin thinks that there are enough people in a minority class that excel at something that allows them to say no, that we are not having, you know, because of this, we counter with, the, you know, because we're so rich or so good with math or numbers or whatever, it's unfair to say that we have to suffer white supremacy. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't. Do I think that there are stats to prove that certain ethnicities or religions or whatever have pros and cons based on what society views as pros and cons? Yeah, probably. It seems that way. May not be that way, but it sure seems that way. But I you know, I don't think it negates the fact that black people certainly feel white supremacy, or that Jews feel anti-Semitism just because maybe per capita Jews have more money. I don't know if that's true. I'm saying if. But the fact that there's a guy who believes that, so he's not donating, as far as I know, his money to the KKK. He's not. He's about to marry a black woman. I'm not saying that means he can't be racist, but it's like, this is not a guy. You may disagree. I may disagree with some of the things he thinks. That's healthy. You probably disagree with a bunch of the shit I think. But the fact that there's this group out there on the internet, especially that would actually have the gall to call themselves journalists, that are so just half-baked as a human, as an adult, that they feel that if you don't agree with my politics and philosophy, then you not only don't deserve my time, but you deserve to be shamed in what Elon Musk likes to call the town square. And I'm like, there's a lot of people. My very best friend from childhood fucking is a right-wing guy. And we argue all the time. I love him to death. I'd jump in front of 20 trains for the guy. I don't know why these idiots think you have to agree with everyone to hold them in esteem. Okay? So my understanding is that, so Savage says it comes across like Colin is ignorant about racism. Cool. Let's say Colin is absolutely ignorant about racism. Let's say he is wrong like he's wrong like he's wrong. Okay. Does that make him a bad guy? he's a smart, open-minded guy. I'm sure, and I don't even know if he still feels this way. This is fucking 5 years ago, but let's assume he does. And let's assume somebody sits down and says, no, let me explain, Colin, why you're wrong. He's never struck me as the kind of guy that would be like, no, I'm right. That's not Colin. Colin is an educated, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just educated and logical, but he is a self-aware human. His ego is there like everyone else's, but I've never encountered him in a conversation, listening to his podcast or talking to him literally, where he seems more interested in being right than being correct, if that makes sense, or being the victor of the argument rather than being correct. And so Gene's getting all this shit from people, and it's like, even if Colin is that, which I don't think he is, fuck off is what I will say to these. I mean, seriously, go fuck yourselves. And I'm not saying that I'm defending Colin because Colin's my friend. There are things Colin says I don't agree with. I thought his day without a woman joke was totally, it was sexist. It was mostly harmless. It puts out kind of a toxic mentality into the world that usually goes unquestioned. I think it's healthy we're questioning it. I think it's good that we're starting to go, whoa, wait a minute. What seemed like a funny joke in the 80s and 90s and stuff on Married with Children, that actually is seeding a mentality that we really would prefer not be in our culture. I think that's true. But I also think people way overreact because they're up their own shit, thinking they're just, I don't know what they think about themselves. Clearly they're enamored with themselves. I've made a sexist joke before. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out. That was sexist. I apologize. But so what? So what? I mean, it doesn't mean he is a bad guy. Jesus. Boss Hand says it's starting to sound like a pattern with this guy. 2 things in 5 years. That's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's responding. Oh, okay. I don't know. It's responding to Blair White. So probably a hot take. I don't know who Blair White is. You're saying that he was responding to, Colin's tweet here is responding to Blair White, but I've never heard. Right. Let me get some of these chats. Truth Teller says, Jaffe, that is cultural cancellation. This is the great debate in the actual modern society. It is getting worse and worse. People tend to group as tribes. It only gets worse and worse if you allow it to. First off, the wonderful icing on the cake for this, or the wonderful sort of fuck you for this, is Colin has the most successful video game podcast on the planet. The amount of money this guy makes and his team makes, then they deserve every fucking penny of it. He's got forget the advertisements, he's got over 12,000 people a month that pay his company. The low end, I think it's $4. So fuck you, you fucking San Franciscan $58,000 a year earner that nobody cares about, that all you're doing is following the herd. Gene certainly doesn't make, I don't imagine, what Colin makes as a traditional reporter, but that guy's got the chops and that guy's got the credentials. What do you fucking have? You fucking write for Kotaku or IGN or whatever. Anybody could get that job. My dog doesn't speak English and he does not have opposable thumbs. No matter what my kids thought when they were little, his thumbs don't work like our thumbs. My dog could get a job at Kotaku, okay? I don't understand. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just jealousy. Maybe it's jealousy. If Colin Moriarty was found to be donating to the KKK and donating to anti-Asian and anti-Jews and all that, even if he was found to have given money to David Duke, who was the Grandmaster at one time, or the Wizard, whatever they idiots call themselves, of the KKK, then these people would have a point. But fuck off, because you don't have a point. I'm way more. You want to put your fucking progressive bona fides fucking journalist against somebody, put him up against mine. You'll lose. You'll lose every goddamn time. I'm a genuine progressive. A lot of you guys are performative progressives. I'm a fucking real progressive, and I can tell you that you're the ones that are making yourselves look like fucking idiots. Colin may or may not support the Republican Party controller. I don't know. He has a right to support the Republican Party. I don't agree with him. And I don't agree with Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump's a nightmare. I hope he ends up with his fucking fat, stupid ass in jail. But the man has a right to support in America who he fucking wants to. Let me get the chat. Sorry. I got off on a little tangent, fellas. Little tangent there. Okay. Grave Doll says, don't exaggerate. Not anybody could get that job. I said my dog could get the job. I'm convinced that 70% of gaming journalists don't live in the real world and don't interact within it and spend way too much time on Twitter. I think that's some truth. Martin says, why the hell does that matter, man? Why the hell does what matter, sir? Let's be clear. I'm not saying, I'm being hyperbolic, fellas. Really, do I have to explain this? I know my dog couldn't really get a job at Kotaku, right? Because he's black. And they say they're woke, but come on. I know my dog couldn't get a job at Kotaku. I'm just saying that if you're educated and a good writer and you care about journalism and you care about the facts, you could spit and get one of these fucking jobs. That's what I'm saying. Don't act like these jobs are something to hold up to esteem. Gene's is, Colin's is, Greg Miller's is. Fucking think some guy, and some of these guys, by the way, at Kotaku, been there a long time, and Polygon I like. I don't hate all of them, but don't fucking act like we're talking about real journalists here. These guys are real fucking journalists. Really? Are they? Then how come Kotaku literally yesterday, instead of going, let's report on why 343 and Microsoft in general seems to struggle to get any of their big games, but certainly their flagship game, Halo, out on a regular basis. Let's blame the audience for basically being a bunch of babies, which is what they did on Kotaku yesterday. Instead of going, you know what a real journalist would do? Is they'd figure out a way to dig and figure out just what the fuck is happening over at Microsoft management. That's a real fucking journalist. Don't fucking come at me like these guys are something to be held up on some kind of pedestal, because they're not. Brian says, what sucks is this could scare Gene away from sacred symbols. No, it couldn't. Gene Park is a goddamn grown man. He's a real adult. He's not going to get scared. He's a fucking journalist. A real journalist, not these fucking yahoos we're talking about. A real journalist is really, and I'm not trying to be romantic here, but they are the last line of defense against corrupted power. Okay? That's Gene. He studied this. That's Ricardo Estevez. He studied this. That's Colin. That's Greg. Greg, I think, has a journalism degree from Missouri. It's a real job. It's not something you roll out of bed and go, I like video games. I think I'll go to E3 and I'm a fucking video game right. No, you're not. You're not a journalist. Fuck off. Journalism is almost important as being a doctor, and it requires as much skill, different kind of skill, as much skill and as much focus and patience and willingness to learn as being a doctor. Yeah, it fucking does. Fucking does. Gene needs to use Twitter far less and get better from COVID. Well, I don't think Twitter is getting him COVID, but I agree with you. The guy's been sick for a while, or suffering from long-term COVID for a while, and I hate that shit. Too many devs treat legit criticism as just being negative or toxic. They stay in their echo chambers of gamers who praise the game. Right. I agree with you, Zaf. Let me tell you something. Polygon, I think his name was Owen Good. A guy at Polygon wrote, gave me a 5 out of 10 for Drawn to Death. Great review. I learned from it. I appreciated it. I still haven't forgotten the IGN 4 out of 10. Not because it was a 4 out of 10, but because the review clearly was not professional. Owen's review was just like, yeah, here's some problems with the fucking game. And I was like, oh shit. I appreciate that. You're right. Eurogamer, I don't know who it was, did the same thing on Calling All Cars. We got 9.5s from IGN on that game. Eurogamer called out the fact that it had very little in the way of defense. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I didn't even think about a more proper sense of defense mechanics when I made that game. I'm with you, Zaf. Too many devs do just stay in their chamber, 100%. Jaffe needs to interview the IGN dude who reviewed Drawn to Death. I don't want to, Rathy. I've already talked to him on Twitter. He's out of the business. He's happy to be out of the business. He's like, ha ha. I mean, he knows what he did. He admitted pretty much. He's just like, I don't give a fuck, Jaffe. Fuck you. He wants nothing to do with it. If a reviewer gives an honest review, I'd give them more access to future projects. You need people in your corner. Well, yeah, that's if you're a developer, John, but this is a business. And if you're Sony, you're like, Sony doesn't give a fuck what their games get. Literally, they care what people think their games get. So if Sony's never paid anybody. No business I know has ever paid anybody in games. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I've never heard of anything like that. But what I'll say, though, is if they could and it was legal and they could get away with it, they would. To them, it's marketing. You know, all the flying journalists out and all that shit, that does not come out of the budget for product development. That comes out of marketing's budget because marketing works with PR. It's business. It's like they're using them. Anyway, so I am waiting to see, and nobody's calling. So look, somebody in here. Okay, here at least Sean Dunlap has some contrarian views. Again, I don't have to be right. Educate me. He says, how hypothetical to defend Colin while saying you hate Trump? They have the same beliefs. Again, you need to be more specific. Tell me a belief that Donald Trump has that Colin has. I'm not saying they don't share beliefs, but give me an example. I have a huge issue with how Donald Trump handled the border, for example. But you know what? It's not like the Democrats, of which I vote with 99.9% of the time, have offered a better solution. And I don't want what Trump wants and maybe what Colin wants when it comes to the border issue and immigrants. And I live in an immigrant state. I don't want what they want. But at the same time, yeah, you can't just have the borders be wide open. But I do think we should maybe, if somebody came to me and said, if you paid more taxes, we could at least allow the people that are applying for asylum and then citizenship to be safe. We don't have to send them back into a war zone where they're being killed and raped and watching their parents murdered in front of them by fucking warlords, not much older than they are. Okay, so I am not willing to say, oh, well, them's are the breaks. A lot of Republicans are. Colin may be. I'm not. I'll pay more money. I'll do what I can do and what we as a society can do to be able to somehow find a way to make it fair who gets in, but not be cruel if you're not one of those people. Because, look, it's not our job, but fuck you, it's not our job. They're humans. Before they're Americans or Colombians or wherever they're coming in from, they are people. They are kids. And so, no, I don't agree with the Republicans. But that doesn't mean Colin's some kind of bad guy. It means we disagree. A pampered generation, says Stonerface, raised on participation trophies, can't contemplate that people can disagree and not be burned at the stake. I'm starting to figure that out. I'm starting to see that. Starting to see that. John says, participation trophies are awesome. Give them out more. No problem with that. Yeah, but you better make sure the winning trophy is bigger. Trump's trying to make Mexico pay for the fence. Oh, come on. He didn't. You think he really thought he wanted to make... He didn't have anything in his brain about making Mexico pay for the fucking fence. Come on now. And that's why he won, because a lot of people are fucking stupid. That's not the only reason he won. A lot of people voted for him because they had been burned by people like Hillary and the left and all the politicians. And in Trump, they saw a guy that they said, you know what? I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He may be crazy, but it's got to be better than what we got now. I didn't agree with that. I thought he was dangerous from the second he opened his mouth on the first primary. But there are a lot of dumb people that voted for him because, well, I don't want to pay for the wall. I guess Mexico will pay for it. Well, why don't you stop for a minute, dumb idiot, and ask yourself, how is that going to happen? Right? I mean, seriously, this is the problem with our fucking country. I'm not going to get on politics beyond this. I say this, though. But when a politician on any side says that, And your first response is like, yeah. And it's not, okay, wait, how's he going to do that? Are we going to invade Mexico? How are we going to force Mexico to give us God knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars, or maybe more, to build a wall? And where were the journalists going, okay, Trump, excellent idea. People seem to really like it. Talk to me about the process of getting Mexico to pay for the fucking wall. And then if he ever was asked that, his answer was probably like, I'm very good. I'm very good at negotiating. I'm good at making deals. I don't know why I'm William Shatner. And I'm like, that's not an answer. It's insane. It's insane. Jaffe DeSantis will be the next president. I hope not. I don't think that's the case. Trump making Mexico... Okay, so I don't understand what you're saying, Darth. Dark says literally listed out in his primary running itinerary. Okay, then tell me, what was it? How was he going to pay for the wall? Colin doesn't speak of politics in his podcast. Well, that's also true. Yeah, I mean, Colin, almost every sacred symbols that I listen to, which is a lot of them, he says, we don't have to agree. I'm not even going to talk politics. We don't talk about that shit here. Let people believe what they want. What is the matter with you people? The minute... I mean, let me tell you something. You know, I went to my son, my trans son, and I says to him, talk to me about J.K. Rowling. What, you know, as a cis, straight, white guy, what do I do? Do I play this game? It looks good. But I don't want to give J.K. Rowling money. What do you think? What do your friends think in the trans community? Because he's got a lot of trans friends as well. He says, well, is she taking the money that she might make off every sale? And do we have any evidence she's donating it to organizations, or she's spending that money to hurt trans people or LGBT people? And I'm like, no. She just has this opinion that she shares, which I guess some people could say, well, that alone is damaging. I mean, yeah, sure. And he's like, yeah, but people should be allowed to think what they want. And that's a trans kid. Shut up. People can have different opinions. Idiots. Brian Eek says this, until they cross a line. You want to say you're progressive, but you're not. You want to believe in freedom of speech and freedom of expression, but you don't. Right? The Supreme Court already took care of the heavy lifting, fellas. The Supreme Court says, hey, you can say what you want, think what you want, express what you want, but the minute it incites violence, we're done. You can't do that. Okay? So they got you. They got it. So people can have opinions you disagree with without them being monsters. Fuck you, 9 Lives. I am not red-pilled. If red pill means all the shit I was just saying, then fucking sign me up, okay? But I don't think it does. I really hate the idea that your opinions make you a good or bad person, says Tyler. People can certainly have good, bad ideas, but people aren't their abstract ideas about policy. No, and sometimes if you actually connect with them, you can learn something and they can learn something. And you can bring them around. Somewhere along the line, some of these jackasses, which is why I think journalism is not the career for them, got the idea that it's wrong or bad or shameful to say, hey, you know what? I was wrong about that opinion. I appreciate you pointing that out to me. Is your ego so fucking fragile that you can't be wrong about something? So all I'll say, this is meant to be about Colin and Gene, though. Fuck you. That's what I will say to all you people coming after Gene. Gene's a better reporter and a more experienced reporter than you will ever fucking be. Okay, so back the fuck off. He doesn't need me to protect him. Colin certainly doesn't need me to protect him. But you know what? These are good people who you cannot... Did Colin tweet some things that you don't agree with? Absolutely. And I don't think, if I understood it more, I don't think I would agree on what Colin's view on this racism thing was in 2017. But you know what Patrick Klepek tweeted? You want to compare old tweets from people? Right? I mean, come on, man. And beyond that, so what? You don't have to agree. Sean Dunlap. Let me go to Sean Dunlap. He seems to have a view on this, but I'm looking for his last tweet and I can't find it. Sean Dunlap. I mean, I talked to Colin. The one I saw, Sean, I didn't see your previous one. Maybe you can copy paste it. The one that caught my attention, though, is you were talking about Colin's views line up with Trump on trans athletes, okay? Colin and I had a conversation about trans athletes on Sacred Symbols Plus recently. And I said, I explained to him my view on it. I don't know if he walked away and agreed or disagreed, but what do I care? There are things we do agree on. There are things we do like to talk about. So? I mean, is Colin harming trans people? I don't think so. If he was, then that would be different. I know quite a few people who I disagree with politically, says you're not. His name is Dildo Gaggins. I know quite a few people who I disagree with politically, but they're some of the coolest and generous people I know. It's not fair to judge someone solely off their politics, right? You judge them off their actions, and you judge them off their willingness to be open-minded and learn. Hell, I don't believe in God. I've been an agnostic since I was 7, but I always say, Chongo, one of our fucking members, says, Jaffe, I want you to buy a Bible. Here's one you should buy. It's all about the history of the region and the Bible. And I'm like, dude, but I don't believe. He goes, don't worry about it, just buy it. Read it, see what you think. So I bought it. I haven't read it yet because it's really long, and the words are really tiny. But open your fucking minds, man. Most people are not the cartoon characters you want to paint them to be. They're just not. We don't live in that world. We don't live in Toontown. Most people are nuanced, and even people who are broken and wrong all over the place, a lot of them, if not most of them, if not all of them, are a reflection of a shitty childhood or a shitty education system. And if you don't treat them like shit, a lot of them can kind of change, just like you can. Oh yeah, man. Pun. If you go back and look up, I don't want to rag on Klepek, but Klepek's one of these kind of, and people can change. So Klepek may have made his excuse, I believe, is like, look, in college I was this guy who used the N-word, who made rape jokes and all this, but I'm not that anymore. And I'm like, okay, I believe that. I believe he's not that anymore. But I don't know why he gets a pass. His shit was really offensive. His shit was mean. Oh yeah, Chick-fil-A. I don't eat at Chick-fil-A anymore because of what's happening there. He was never going to get the money from Mexico, and Republicans never cared about that. Why are you dwelling on it? Somebody brought it up. Okay, so I'm sorry, but fuck off then, Sean. Fuck off then, okay? If you're okay with a politician standing there and getting elected on the back of a number of campaign promises, not the least of which was one of his most famous ones, which is pay for the wall, and everybody would yell, Mexico, who's going to pay Mexico? And then you're like, oh, well, he was never going to pay for it. We all knew that. Why are you dwelling on it? Because that's what he fucking said over and over and over. And if you think that's okay in any politician, then please stay out of the voting booth because you're a fucking moron. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Why am I dwelling on it? Because that's what he ran on. Oh, but he was never going to pay for it. We didn't care. Fuck off. Then fucking have some fucking morals and have a backbone then, man. Jesus. Do I like Biden, Ryan? I don't know enough about what he's doing. Here's what I think. I think Biden's heart is in the right place. I think he's a much more compassionate, good human than Donald Trump ever was. I think he genuinely wants to be a public servant. I also think that it's hard for me to know how effective he is. Not because he's an unusual politician that you can't judge how effective he is, but because I'm not really following it, because I'm burnt out a little bit on reading about the president every day because of Trump, and I got burnt. But I know a lot of people don't like him, but I don't know how many people would never like him just because he's a Democrat, and how much of it is based on policy. I have no idea. Nine Live says, Jaffe, you have to admit Biden is a disaster. Why do I have to admit that? Because the news you choose to read has convinced you that he is? He may be. But that's why I watch Fox and CNN and MSNBC, because they're all fucking out for your money. I did, Mr. K. He turned in the middle of a speech to shake someone's hand and there was nobody there. Yeah. I mean, he you know, sure. Again, the idea that you have to love everybody who's on your team is moronic. Anyway. Scott Woodford, thank you, buddy. He's been a member for 2 months. I appreciate it. He says, happy Tuesday. Biden is terrible, worse than Trump, in my opinion. As an independent voter, I still love you, though. Right? I don't, I think Trump's a disaster. But, you think Biden's a disaster. Great. And you know what? My mind is open. Listen, let's brag about myself for a little bit. I am clever enough and smart enough and open-minded enough to be... I would sit down. If somebody said to me, I don't have any interest in it, but if somebody said to me and I was in the right headspace, Jaffe, I want to sit down with you and I want to tell you why Trump was the greatest president that we've ever had, or the last 10 presidents. If I was in that headspace and I had faith in that person's ability to discuss, and I knew they weren't just hitting me with Fox propaganda or whatever OAN propaganda, I'd go, all right, my mind's open. What do I not know? What do I not know? You got to be careful, man. These people who are on your team, that lead your team, don't give a fuck about you. Give a fuck about you. All right. Okay, I will immediately take calls now. I know this guy keeps calling and hanging up. Maybe that's fun for you. Maybe that's the lurker way to use the red phone. I don't fucking know. Do you have the number? Do you even have the number of the red phone? It's a lot easier. Some people like to call on the phone and not on the Discord. I understand. The job of the president is crazy nuts. I'm sure he heard something through his headset. Yeah, who knows? And even if he didn't, seriously, let's say the guy 20% of the time is out of his goddamn fucking mind. Okay, you know what? At least he gets up and goes down to the office at 9 a.m. Trump would be up in the office apparently till like noon watching Fox News. Hello, it's Jaffe. What's up?
Hey, it's Luca.
Hey, man, how are you?
So, yeah, I just wanted to... Good, thank you. I wanted to move on from the political subject.
Yes.
And go back to something that I actually wanted to talk to you last time that I heard you speaking about some backlog that you have and some games that you want to finish.
Okay.
And that, I think, ties in with the PS Plus premium, where we'll be able to trial games, because... it'll help not have that much of a backlog. I have so many games that I need to finish, and the reason I bought them is because I was interested at some point. But at this point, I think our lives are way too busy, and it's crazy to even think that you can finish everything.
No, so, you're not wrong about that. I'm at a point right now with Elden Ring, and Elden Ring is my favorite game of all time. Maybe second behind Hearthstone. It is top of the fucking pops. And I'm struggling to get back to it because I gave it so many hours and so much love and so much attention. And I'm just like, I think I'm done. And I hate that. That most games I don't finish. Yeah, but I'm not going to.
Why?
Because I think
Why do you hate that?
Why do I hate it? Because I would like to be able, there's two reasons. One is, I would like to be able, there's three reasons. One is for the show, I'd like to have the talking points. I'd like to be able to go through it so when I'm talking about it, I'm much as educated as I can be. The second reason is I love it and I want to see where it goes and I want to see the other surprises it has. And the third reason is because I guess I have some kind of checklist OCD in my brain where I'm like, it's nice to put something on the shelf and go done. But the fact of the matter is I'm kind of bored of it now, and I want to play some other things.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. We have this OCD thing in our heads that make us, go and grind and do things we don't really want to do, just to do the checklist. But I don't think it's healthy.
I think you're probably
it's better
right.
to
I
just,
think
like,
you're
try
right. I think you're right about that. I think you should take
And when-
something,
and when it
play it,
comes-
put it away.
Yeah, and when it comes to Elden Ring, like that's for me, that's not a game for me. Absolutely, the complete opposite of what I enjoy in a game. And I paid $60 for it, and if I had the PlayStation Plus Premium, I would be able to trial it. I would see it's not for me. So
Right.
it would already save me the $60.
Yeah, I will tell you though, I don't feel compelled to play a game and finish it because I paid for it and own it. Like I bought Star Wars and I will never finish that game. I really liked it, the new Star Wars, but that trial would have been great for me because I got all I wanted out of it in the first couple hours, and I'm good. I loved it, wonderful game, but I'm like I don't really want to play anymore. So, but I'm with you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you for calling as always, Luca.
Thank you.
All right, man. Oh, sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to cut you off. Scott Woodford said, I will brag about you too. I tried Spider-Man with VR and it was amazing. Spider-Man's in VR? I know there's like the Homecoming version where he swings in first person, or are you saying you actually put... Oh, you mean variable refresh rate. Variable refresh rate. Oh, okay, cool. Very, very cool. I'm not debating Trump with you, though, but if anybody actually wants at a different time to say, hey, let's talk about Trump, my mind's open. Jaffe, Mike and Ike's or Dots? I would probably prefer Mike and Ike's, but they're both about the goddamn same one thing. Jaffe's on what, Mr. K? What do you mean? Jaffe's on one today? I don't know what that means. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. That's Gabbin' and Games for today. This was not really meant... Oh, I want to tell you, though. This is pancakes or waffles, pancakes. This is not meant to be a full-on show. Again, those are my takes. I really hate that people are coming up after Gene Park. What a ridiculous bunch of fucking bozos. What a ridiculous bunch of fucking bozos these guys are. This guy's a genuine reporter, a real reporter. And it's like, oh, he can't talk to somebody who's not on the cool kids club? Fuck you, you morons. They should be ashamed of themselves. What's up? It's Jaffe.
Hey, so I'm glad I caught you before you left. What I was kind of thinking with the whole Colin Moriarty thing, and to an extent sort of like also like Chris Pratt on Twitter as well, where I feel like it's probably because people sort of see them as like lightning rods of the sort of like every negative connotation of a certain political party.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing with Chris Pratt is like, look, I heard rumors that Chris Pratt donates to churches that do LGBT conversion therapy. I don't have any evidence of that, and I've heard that debunked. But if that's true, then yes, I will choose not to support Chris Pratt because A, I think that's cruel, and most importantly, I think it's cruel, but also I don't want my money going to that. But until someone does an expose and shows me where the man's money goes,
yeah, exactly,
the guy has a right to disagree with you. I don't get it. Hey, there's Gene Park. Hang on a second, buddy. Gene Park, you better call into this goddamn TV show. Come on now. All right, keep going, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and also the thing is, I'm very much a lefty, but the thing is, these right-wing people, they represent like half of your country.
Yeah.
And what you gonna do?
Well, yeah, because ultimately, I mean, the most tragic part about it, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these guys that sits around and says, oh, everybody deserves everybody deserves a chance, but there are stupid people in this country. We have a terrible public education system in this country. Not terrible teachers, but the system and how it's absolutely clogged up with the fucking, just a bunch of rules and regulations and teaching for tests and all this shit to get their money. But we have some idiots in this country, for sure, on both sides. But most people, though, are not, like I said, they're not the cartoon characters that media makes them out to be so they can make money. And that, I think, is the biggest problem, is that it's easy to vilify someone when they have been turned into a mustache twirling idiot. But most people are not that. And we've just lost sight of that because people make a lot of money allowing us and telling us to lose sight of that. It's terrible. But I agree.
Also,
We got to.
It does feel good as well when you've got a cartoon villain in your mind and you can sort of just go after them on Twitter and feel like you not very achieved anything.
No, and that's. But I mean, where does that come from? I mean, how deep do you have to go to solve the problem, right? I mean, what does it say about us as a country or as a society that we feel so ineffective in our own lives? We feel so unable to go after the things in our own lives that excite us, that for us, a victory on Twitter is our biggest success of the day, right? I mean, that's wow, right? I mean, that's terrible.
Well, that's part of the dopamine hit of for the kind of like gamification of Twitter, really, where you can sort of retweet, hey, I said this about this person here, and look at me, I'm so great,
Yeah, I do know.
But yeah, it's pretty sad.
I agree. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for calling in and sharing your views. Please call back anytime.
No worries, you have a good day.
All right, man. You too. Gene Park, get yourself in here. Come on now. You goddamn right you're calling. Come on. I got COVID. Who gives a shit? Be a man. Can you believe I just said that to Gene Park? Jaffe, why do you twitch your eye? Oh, I twitch my eye. I have a bunch of facial tics. I am on a med called Concerta for my ADD. It's very effective, but it gives me facial tics.
Sean Dunlap.
Well, is this Sean Dunlap from Dunlap Tires? How you doing, boy? It's good to talk to you. Your daddy, I swear to God, your daddy pulled me out of the soup and Nam, and I've never been the same since. I think when he was pulling me out, he touched my wiener, but it was really weird. I was conflicted. Until this day, I'm ambivalent about the whole thing, because he did save my life, but then he made me feel funny in my nether regions. Sean Dunlap, what do you want to talk about, sir?
Well, I'm glad that my dad helped you, because he wasn't around much for me.
Well, he's a son of a bitch. I didn't say he wasn't, but you know what he's like. All right, what you want to talk about, sir?
Well, first of all, I don't have to say I think you're a legend. I know you're a legend.
You're
I really
goddamn
appreciate
right.
The show and everything you've done for me in my childhood and even adulthood now. But I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
I was typing quite a bit in there. I am not a Trump supporter.
Okay.
But and that was my comment on Republicans not caring about Trump paying for the wall. Some Republicans do, the fiscally conservative ones, but the Trump supporters never cared about paying for the wall. I never cared about the wall, period, because it's fucking stupid. But
Sure, but if you're gonna hold up Trump as some kind of, if someone's gonna come to you and say Trump was voted for by idiots, at least some of them, but a lot of it was the wall. They were like, I don't like the foreigners coming in here, and he's going to build a wall, and he's even going to have them Mexicans pay for it.
And
I mean,
the wall was just about keeping Mexicans out. It was never about anything else. They don't want Mexicans here.
Right? How horrible!
And the other thing about Colin is, this is what we have now is accountability to people that have a platform. It used to be people go on TV. They spout their whatever they're saying, right wing, left wing, whatever.
Yeah.
There was no voice back. There was no way to communicate your opinion on it or whatever. So I used to read Colin a lot back in the day, but I don't support him anymore because he's far left. That doesn't mean I hate Colin at all. It just means I'm not going to follow him on Twitter, give him followers, give him views on YouTube.
And that is your right.
People feel.
Sure, but that's different. That's different.
Getting upset that people are using their voice just because many voices are the same, that they don't, racism is a red flag for a lot of people now, especially since Trump.
It should be.
Left. Absolutely. And his tweet right there saying that racism does not exist.
He didn't say racism does not exist.
He said, if you read it, he said, the fringe-less conspiracy of racism. in America.
Well, that's not the tweet. Show me that tweet. Show me the tweet where he says, hang on. I'm not saying you're right. Like I said, my mind is open. I don't care if I'm right. But I didn't see a tweet where he said racism doesn't exist.
Bring up Asians being
No. Wait a minute. You just dropped a really interesting accusation about Colin. Are you saying you have a tweet that Colin is saying that racism does not exist in America?
Read that tweet that you brought up this whole conversation on.
I don't have a full conversation. I have a tweet. Is that the tweet you're talking about?
Yes, it's right there.
Okay, did I tweet this out?
No, the tweet, Colin's tweet. The one
He
about
says Asian Americans blow the entire white supremacy racism bit to smithereens.
Correct. He's saying because Asians are successful, there's no reason that Black Americans can't be as successful.
Where is he talking about Black Americans at all?
Okay, if you were even talking about that terminology and what it means.
Okay, so the
reason people bring up Asians. Listen, he said Asians are successful, right? And that blows up any kind of racism or white supremacism in America.
Why? That doesn't make any sense.
That is saying that African Americans, or whatever he's talking about, their racism doesn't exist because they could be as successful as Asians. That's what that means.
Says you.
If you've ever listened to right-wing radio,
I know, but I don't care about that. I'm talking about Colin. I don't know if Colin's saying what you're saying. He may very well be, but the tweet doesn't say.
There.
It's not right there. What he is saying is it
said Asian success blows up the conspiracy theory of racism, white supremacy in America. That's what he's saying, right?
Yes.
What do you think he means by that?
I don't know, but what I can tell you is, because
you say you watch Fox News, you should know that.
I don't know what Colin means. Look, stop. Are you suggesting that, or let me be clear. Do I know there are people who believe in the theory that you are espousing and a lot of them watch and are on Fox News? Of course I know that. But I also know that Colin is a more nuanced thinker than that. And I'm not saying I agree with him that Asian Americans doing well, destroys white supremacy and racism. I don't think those two things are related. You didn't say that either. You said
they
that
are for a white ringer.
You're not letting me finish. I'm going to hang up now because you're not letting me finish the conversation.
I'm sorry.
You said that this means Colin is saying, because of this, Black people don't have an excuse not to be successful. And all I'm reading in this tweet is he is saying that white supremacy and racism doesn't exist because we can point to Asian Americans being successful. That is it's not exactly what it's not exactly. You're arguing two different things and you're trying to shove them together and say they're the same thing. I gotta hang up. I gotta hang up. I'm sorry, bud.
You're good.
I appreciate it, Sean, but you're literally not listening. Okay? I don't know what Colin is specifically saying, but what is not in this tweet is Colin Moriarty saying, because Asians are successful in America, or at least some of them, certainly not all of them, he is saying it sounds like because of that, you can say white supremacy and racism doesn't exist. I think that's ridiculous. That comment from Colin, if that's what he's saying, is ridiculous. But there's nothing in that comment that says that and also says Black people should be more successful because of what I just said. You're two different topics, and you're trying to shove them into one.
From
Gene Park.
Well, look who's decided to hop out of bed and be a fucking man and use the phone. How are you feeling?
No surprise, I'm actually still in fucking bed.
I believe it. How are you feeling?
Man, the last few days have been real rough, where I was just like sleeping for like fucking like 20 hours a day and not eating, fucking throwing up in the shower and shit like that.
And this is still COVID though? I mean, this is still this is long-term COVID, right? That's what you've got?
That's what I think, but here's the thing: I haven't even really seen a doctor for it. I got COVID and I'm still fucking sick. So that's just and there's no reason why I should still be sick 4 months later.
So
You should go to the
Yeah.
fucking doctor. I've been watching The Good Doctor. You should go to him. He's good.
yeah, I wish I could. I wish the medical system worked like it does on TV.
I know.
Doesn't.
Are you not able to go to the doctor?
They won't see me. They can't see me because they're so fucking backed up out here.
Oh my god. All right, well, dude, go to the ER. That's something's. Come on now, go to the
I
goddamn.
thought about going to urgent care, but then I think, well, what the fuck are they gonna do?
They're going to probably look at you and say something awful, but maybe curable. Like, God forbid, Gene, you have cancer. And they're like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I'm right. And then, but you catch it early enough, you'll be fine. But don't fucking wait 6 months.
Yeah. No, I've been thinking about going to urgent care. Anyways,
All right.
We're gonna talk about Asians.
Let's talk about Asian folks. Why do they like Godzilla so much? What's up with that?
Because Godzilla is amazing.
He is amazing. Godzilla is awesome. All right.
Godzilla is amazing.
So what is this with these people coming after you? This is utter horseshit. Even if you disagreed with everything Colin Moriarty stands for and says, you didn't marry the guy. And how was your conversation? How did you find it?
It was fine. Like maybe I wish I had an opportunity to challenge him on some of the things that my peers are upset about. But we didn't have the time. The conversation ended in an hour, and it was a lot quicker. But that was partially because Colin was being cognizant of my time and my energy, because he
Right.
also knows that I'm really sick and I can't really just hang out and talk on the phone or sit up and chat. This is easier because I'm just talking on the phone and I'm just watching you
Right.
vape with the sweet tooth thing. So this is a lot easier. I'm actually like I said, I'm literally just lying in bed just checking you out.
Are you touching yourself?
So
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Let it linger as a mystery, Gene. Let it linger.
We're gonna have to start charging a lot more for subs for that too, and
That's true.
I'm gonna have to get in on some of that.
That's fine. We'll do a cross between game news and sexy time talk on. It'll be you and me. We'll do our own podcast. But okay, so but your peers have been coming after you, and they've been coming after you for what?
They are upset because I spoke with Colin Moriarty, who they believe is, for some people, they believe he's bigoted. For other people, it's because he attacks marginalized or journalists of color. And I've seen that. I've seen him criticize writers that I admire.
Because they're
Here's the-
people of color?
Go ahead. Right, just other journalists of color, because they might have some takes about how, like for example, like I'll just say this one because this was a controversy I was mired in. Ghost of Tsushima is cultural appropriation. I don't agree with that statement, but I'm just saying, like that anyone who feels that way, like Colin would say, what the fuck is this? And then that would lead to quote unquote harassment, because he is discussing publicly a publicly published piece of work,
Well, isn't that
And then
sort of his right if you're going to publish a published piece of work? Isn't it out there for the
Okay.
world to discuss and debate and agree and disagree with?
That's my view on it, man. Like as a journalist, and I've been a journalist for 20 years, like only 2 of them in game journalism, I've been working in hardcore daily newspaper journalism all my life, and I've taken my blows all throughout my career, so this is nothing new. But if you're going to be in journalism and you're going to be having a public-facing job, I think it's to be expected to have some public criticism. Some people might not agree, some people might, And so I do not think that criticizing a published piece of work is harassment. Sometimes it might lead to kind of a dogpiling, but that's just a shame. Like I'm seeing that happen to my own. To people I like under my replies who are expressing disappointment, and I feel for them. And then it gets worse when Colin's own fans are, they're defending his work because they fervently believe, and I also believe that he's not like an outright bigot. I wouldn't have gone on his show if I believed that he was a bigot. I don't believe he's a bigot.
Nor do I.
Last Stand Media. Yeah, I've listened to the Last Stand Media podcast. They're just mostly mad that we're getting ads in games,
Yeah, or they're mostly, they don't like, they don't want to have, I guess they have a thing on Game Pass or whatever. I mean, yeah, they don't really talk about this shit anyway. But I'm curious about that. So you're saying someone, and I'm assuming it was a Japanese journalist, said Ghost of Tsushima is cultural appropriation, and then Colin pushed back on his show and said, I think that's absurd. That's the gist of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just using Ghost of Tsushima as an actual hypothetical. Like Colin, I don't think has ever talked about that.
Oh, okay, but you're saying,
As far as,
but Colin's never attacked somebody who is a person of color because they're a person of color, correct?
not because of that, yeah, because he disagreed with their work. So
Well, then who gives a shit? I mean, are you not allowed to attack people's work if they are a certain shade?
You know what? Here's the thing. Like there are, you know, like the gentleman before me, Sean. He was trying to talk about racism and Asian Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do think that he has a point that using Asian Americans as a quote unquote model minority, like we're the good ones out of all the people of color.
Sure, that can't be good.
Yeah, that's like, oh, fuck. I don't want that responsibility, man. I like don't put that shit on me, and I don't want my own image to be made to look to make other people's struggles look any less, you know, or any less real, you know. So I mean that's the danger in that, but okay,
but let's just take that then, because we know Colin has said that. So Colin said that, and let's assume he hasn't changed his view at all. I don't know if he has or not, but let's assume he hasn't. So what you just said to me is all that needs to be said, and I go, yeah, I don't agree with that view. I didn't agree with that view to begin with, and now hearing it, you articulate it so succinctly, I'm like, yeah, of course, that's a dumb view. But does that mean because he has a dumb view, he's a bad guy that needs to be put away and not listened to and not be allowed to work and be canceled and shit?
No, because that's what I was trying to say in my tweet, in some of my more recent tweets. The idea of looking at Asian American success and thinking, they're successful. What's going on? I don't think that that's a radical fringe idea. I think that's an idea that a lot of normal folks have. I got some people say, how could you say that nobody knows about the model minority? It's like, bro, like my friends didn't all go to graduate school. Like none of us went to graduate school. Like a lot of us didn't take those same classes. Here's the thing: when people say that Colin is white supremacist or racist, they are using a definition of racism that I've understood through my education as racism is a systemic thing, and that all white people are quote unquote racist because they are all beneficiaries.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
You see, you know that, but I don't think that that's a commonly held view. Like my best friends, when I mention that to them, they say, I've never heard that before. And I say, yeah, because, you know, like you didn't take those classes or you didn't go to college, you know? So I think that there's a real education, like not gap, but like just a real education misunderstanding in terms of where our experiences go. So I like some people like to call that white supremacy because that's what they've been trained to do, and I understand that. That's not how I approach things. When someone says, you know, Asians are fucking great, look at all the other people, I don't think that they're racist. I just think that they're just kind of seeing Asians being successful and just wondering about shit. And then, like, they're not thinking about it any more deeply, or they don't need to, because that's not their concern.
Well, yeah, and let me just ask you point blank, because I didn't even know until today what the model minority was. But
exactly.
Do you think so? When people say, I mean, I don't think. I mean, some people are idiots, but if I were to say, it wouldn't. How do I phrase this in a way? Okay. The media has definitely contributed, and maybe even wholly contributed, to the idea that Asians in America tend to have more societally defined successes than African Americans in America. Would you agree that that's sort of the narrative that we see on movies and TV and all kinds of things?
Oh, fuck yes.
Okay. Do you think there is any basis of... Yeah, go ahead.
Look at who's anchoring your local news. Probably like two Asian women, right?
Yeah.
Or like some Asian guy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like you see a bunch of us on local news because we're quote unquote more palatable to an audience, and we're quote unquote trainable, better trainable or presentable or whatever, right? So they're absolutely perpetuating this idea, you know.
I'm just saying. Do you think there is there truth to that? Is there, you know, is it one of those things that, you know, historically, Asian families that migrate to different countries tend to assimilate better but still maintain their culture, and Jews tend to be better with money? I don't fucking, I mean, trust me, I was a Jew, I was raised a Jew, and we had no money. But I'm just saying, I mean,
You were a Jew, yeah.
I was a Jew, yeah, and I have more money now than when I was a Jew, so fuck off to that stereotype. But, you know, or, okay, you know, maybe this is racist, but every time I've gone anywhere, it does seem black people have a much better ability to dance. If I've gone to parties and stuff, and most white people, especially white men, can't dance. And I know that that's a fun one because it's like, oh, you're giving that race a cookie, but that's not usually the shit they hear about themselves. I'm just saying that I think all this stuff gets marbled, and some people think they're giving a compliment, and a lot of times they just don't fucking know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't fucking know. So it's like, what am I supposed to do? Just say, oh, you're racist, you're a white supremacist, and block them? That's
Right.
not how I operate. That's not how I want to engage with people. I'm sorry, but that's just how I don't operate.
So why are they like this? Why are these journalists, quote journalists? Because I gotta assume, and you're not gonna say anything. You don't have to. Just cough. I have to assume that you don't have a lot of respect for most, not all, but most video game journalists. Because let's be honest, they're not real journalists, are they, Gene? Come on.
I have
now.
a lot of respect for a lot of journalists. You're not going to get me on that one, Jeff.
Okay, but you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Just cough, Gene. Just wink. Just wink. But I'm just saying. I mean, didn't you covered crime, right? I mean, you've been out in the fucking real world covering stuff and having to follow up leads and having to do actual research and make sure before you printed something that it had what X number of sources that your editor demanded. And these are people that are trying to fucking school you on who you should be talking to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said it would drive me crazy that these are people out there that are trying to school you on who you should be engaging with as a journalist.
Exactly, because that's just not how newspaper journalists operate. I'm sorry, like I can't just I can't operate the same way as game journalists do. I can't be an activist like they can. You know, my job is to expand my audience and my readership as much as I can, and to reach out to as many readers as I can. That's my job.
Right.
That's it. You know. So if I'm going to start calling random people racist just because they had some some misunderstood compliment towards me, or they just don't understand the concept of white supremacy as this all pervasive thing, which is not a commonly held view. Maybe it might be now because we fucking talk about it so goddamn much.
Right.
You know, but you know, there are still a lot of parts of the country and a lot of people who still don't understand that or aren't educated on it. And whether it's fact or not, I don't care. I'm just saying that you know, like I understand those perspectives. I agree with them wholeheartedly, but I don't agree with just calling people, well, you're just a white supremacist, and just leave it at that. That's just not what I do. That's just not that's just not how I operate.
Right. I mean, I think.
So
go ahead.
It is aggravating to have a bunch of journalists who have only worked in the game journalist space tell me how to do journalism when I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen more dead bodies than any of these people combined. You know, and I'm a pretty grizzled journalist, and I won't back down. I'm not going to apologize for doing my job.
I agree, and I think the sad part is we live in a place in a time where that shit's vilified. It's like you're the one who's actually doing the work, and you're the bad guy. It's the craziest goddamn thing. I'm glad you're doing it, Gene. You're one of the few guys in the industry, not the industry, but who reports on games that I genuinely respect and I hold up as a model. So I appreciate it. Get better, feel better, and then come back on the show when you feel tip-top and let's debate games and shit.
I appreciate it, Jaffe. I blame you for all of this. And
you should. Fine, but listen, go to the goddamn doctor because I'm not going to have your death on my hands. You can cure this. It's just fucking cancer. The rate of cancer curing is easy these days. Just go to the goddamn doctor, Gene.
I'm trying, man.
All right, go to the urgent care. Seriously, don't be a moron. All right, Gene, we love you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right.
Love you too, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
There goes Gene off into the night. Good old fella. Good fella. Yeah, that sucks. The guy's been sick for 4, 5, 6 months. Come on, man. Come on. We should just let's all just chip in and send a fucking doctor who makes house calls. Seriously. There are doctors that still do house calls. I'll tell you what, Gene lives in, I think, where the fuck does he live? Washington State? No, he doesn't live there. He writes for, I don't know where he lives. Somebody find out the city, and I'll do a little research and find out if we can find a fucking house call doctor. I don't care what he wants. We'll just send it to his fucking house. And he'll be like, what the fuck is this? He's like, send a sexy lady. I'm a sexy lady doctor. You let me in. I don't know what doctors say, but, you know. Fellas, that's Gabbin' and Games. Gene, thank you so much for calling. Sean Dunlap, thank you for calling. I hated to be a bit of a dick to you, but, you know, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't bring the facts. I know you thought you were bringing the facts, but you were literally taking two totally different ideas and merging them together. Come on now. Come on now, Sean. That shit ain't going to fly. Call back anytime, though, buddy. You know we love you, part of our community. I'm out. I will be streaming later tonight, probably, and if I stream, it's either going to be IGN's Rogue Jam, or I'll save that till later in the week and do a game tonight or something, but I'm not sure. Be well, be safe. Thank you guys very, very much for hanging out with me and discussing the topics of the day. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Stupid idiot!